Hey, happy Saturday, you EDC Mac daddies. From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's Saturday, roughly 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we're live, baby. And I'm stoked because, yet again, that means that we made it through another week. Here we are at the cusp of another weekend day. But instead of just easing into Sunday, we're going to spend it together. What a beautiful thing to do. And I was thinking before the live stream, if you're not having a good weekend, does that make you the EDC Mac sadder daddy? I won't quit my day job, but I will continue to make bad puns wherever I can. Wherever I can. I'm very unapologetic about that. It's been one hell of a week, but here we are. The weekend. The time that we get to do, all the things that we said we were going to do during the week, but then we never do, and it's Monday again. Make ourselves feel better. Searching the inventories of these retail websites, it's a dangerous thing to do. I'll tell you what, guys. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that you're here. Let's go ahead and say hi to all the good people in the chat. Shout out to Marco, first person in the chat. Welcome into Ohio Lefty Knife Guy. Thanks for being a channel member. Welcome in. We got Josh 33025, Sterling Stutes, level on up. My man Jim Miller, another channel member in the house. Let's go. What's up, Dazed D? Good to see you. Dazed says, rainy weather here in the Bay Area. Here in the Mile High, it's just been hot. Actually, I take that back. It has not been hot. It's been some level of cold. Within the last 2 weeks, we got down into the negatives. We were in the single digits. Today felt warm, and we were like 45, 50 degrees. To all my Texans out there, you guys see 50 degrees and you're shutting down school. You just end up with thicker blood when you live in the Rocky Mountain area. I don't know. I got by today with the sweatshirt. Did some stuff today. Changed the oil in a car. That's always good stuff to do. Save yourself some money so you can spend it all on knives. I mean, bills. With all the tariff news coming out about, what the tariffs are going to look like, and all of a sudden we're like, that looks like those prices are going to be passed on to us. All of a sudden, Chinese knives aren't necessarily the cheaper option. Maybe they are. I don't know. What's up to Jason Cable? Welcome in. He says, yo, what's up, Rollshambo and friends? Dude, I'm hanging out. I'm trying to bring the energy today. It is what it is. Started off a Knife and EDC live stream talking about tariffs. But don't tell me that people aren't like, what? Now is the time to buy knives made in China before all of a sudden they're no longer the cheaper option. Right? What's up, Ed B? Thanks for being a channel member. Welcome in. Good to see you, man. All right. Jim says it's absolutely beautiful here in Lower Alabama. Pictures or it didn't happen, Jim. I expect pictures. Nothing but beautiful scenery in the pocket check today, please. Hey, welcome into Dylan Mallory. Good to see you, man. He says, howdy, bro. Hope you're well. I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. Every day is a good day. When you wake up on the right side of the dirt, it's a great day. All right. What's up to Rainey? Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see Rich Kastner. Welcome into the ponds. Thanks for being a channel member. We got another channel member, David V. Thank you, fellas. Spartan, kick the like button for the channel members. Let YouTube know that we're here. We're live, baby. Let's go. Lone Star Cowboy says the carry of the day is the Cold Steel Koboon and Air Light Tanto. The Koboon is such a cool little fixed blade, and they make a couple different versions. I own one. It's the cheaper version, and I want to say it's Oz 8. It's cool, it's going in my pack. If we face a societal ending event, all my fixed blades are coming with me. might leave my microtech OTFs at home. I'll take the cold steel fixed blades for sure. What's up to Gas Station Knives? Thanks for being a channel member. And you too, Bluetooth Blades. I see you out there. Stephen Fletcher, another channel member. Thanks, fellas. Let's go. Rainey says, I ordered another compadre yesterday because of the tariffs. Oh man, they did a good job of covering their tracks. I try to avoid politics whenever possible, but this is less political and more financial, and it affects businesses everywhere. So I'm just gonna say, like, the idea that we'll suffer in the short run, but it'll get better. They promise. I don't know. I don't know. It's like we're playing a game of chicken economically, and I'm just gonna keep my eyes closed. Head down, eyes closed. It's out of my hands. It really is. Be Devious, thanks for being a channel member, brother, and welcome in. Rainey says, if Chinese knives go up, well, I got mine. You know what? Here's the thing that bums me out the most. So many people don't get this, right? There's so many American companies. Think Devo Knives. We know Lefty EDC, and if you don't, you should. Kev, Lefty EDC. Colin Mason here, that's Devo Knives. Whenever they come out with a knife, it's made in China. I think they are working on an American-made knife. The supply chain heavily benefits the US. Like, yes, the knife is made there, but like, think about the camo carbon. They source their titanium locally. Usually they're using a crucible steel. And so all of this actually benefits the US. The smallest amount of profit margin in that whole thing goes to China. But because it's made there and they have to ship it here, all of a sudden that means that we're going to be paying more for Devo knives. They don't make any more when we do. And they're not the only ones. People don't get that. They just see made in China and they assume that, all the profits go into China. But the knife community, we're such a small group that is affected just like everybody else in the United States on so many other levels. So yeah, tariffs got me feeling a certain type of way about that. I hope it means that we have more opportunities for our American makers, at least. And there are some exciting American makers out there. Absolutely. I just wish that we could get some good American-made OEMs going. You know, I want to see Kershaw step it up in their OEM game. I want to see Spyderco step it up in their OEM game. I want to see, well, you know what? I'll give it to Hogue. Hogue does a fair amount of OEM work. They get a pass. Hogue gets a pass. Everybody else, step it up. Step it up. Now's the time. Us, your customer base, your consumer base, your demographic is depending on it. Hey, shout out to Dave V. Says Raccoon showed up in great condition, put a wicked mirror edge on it today. Thanks again. Oh man, that is fantastic. I love sharpening knives. Sharpening knives is great, and especially when you get it, not just a good mirror, but also it's just enough where you still have bite. Like, people think, oh, you know, if it's a mirror polish, you can't get a bitey edge. Not true at all. I'll give you guys an example. Here's my pocket check early today. I carried this guy. This is my Strider AR .75. I've got a mirror edge on it. When I got this knife brand new, it's almost 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago in October. The factory edge was garbage. It was like, it made me angry. It made me angry how bad. Because, you know, a knife's first duty, first and foremost, is to cut. If it's not good at cutting, it's not a good knife. And the edge bevel was thin and fat and felt like more of a pry bar. And so I reached out to Jared Neves, and I was like, dude, I want to put an edge on here. What do you think? Sorry, I'll stop playing with this thing. He's like, oh, do it. 15 degrees. bring it down to like 15 degrees or 17 degrees. I brought it down to 20, and look at how like it fattened those edge bevels. But I'll tell you what, got a mirror polish on it, and now it cuts. Like this deletes cardboard, and it's a thick EDC Mack Daddy. Like this guy right here, underrated. My recommendation to anybody that has one of these, don't leave the stock edge on there. Something I'm thinking about doing with this is actually sending it off somewhere to get a regrind. I want like a deep hollow grind, and it could take it too. It could take it because this is some thick blade stock. That's the only thing it's missing. I mean, it cuts well now. It's got a better edge on it now, but people see the mirror edge and they're like, bet that doesn't cut very well. Just looks pretty, doesn't it? In your display case. I mean, it does, but I also carry it and I want it to cut well. David V, congrats on the raccoon. When I did the sale, so many people reached out to me about the same knives, and that was one of those knives where I had to email like 6 or 7 people and say, I'm sorry, it's already sold. So congratulations. Glad you're loving it. Glad it showed up in one piece and the post office guy did not screw that up, and that you also got a banging edge on there. Congrats again, man. And thank you so much again for the super. Rainey says it got sent to the wrong address and took a minute to get to me. For the second compadre, man, the postal service needs to get it together. They're not that cheap. They don't get a pass from me. I had one happen the other day. When I was, not the other day, I want to, it's like, what was it now? 2 weeks ago? I had the CPM 15V Para 3 coming in the mail. UPS, not even US Postal Service, UPS. And I was waiting. It's like, should arrive by like 2 p.m. 2 p.m. comes by, nothing. I'm like, okay. You know, like it's snowing outside, whatever. It's like, we'll deliver it later. I'm like, okay. So I'm checking on this now. You know, I've got the itch. Like, all right, when's it going to show up? Any minute now. Any minute. And I hear my dog goes off, and my dog is the best doorbell that I've ever encountered in my entire life. My dog is the best doorbell. She could sense pressure changing on a stair step in a building 3 buildings down. And I know this because she goes off like she would go off if someone was at our door. And I check and it says delivered. I'm like, cool. I go and check the door. Literally 2 minutes after it's marked as delivered, not there. Not there at all. And I'm starting to freak out, like what happened? And so I checked the picture, right? But here's the problem. When you live in an area where everyone's door looks the same. And so they have a picture, but it's dark out. And so you can just see the outline of a door in a package, and it could be one of 50 doors. And so, in my mind, one of 2 things happened. The UPS guy dropped it off and then picked it up after taking his pictures like, sweet, new knife. Or he just dropped it off at the wrong building. I walked the stairs of 4 other buildings. 4. I found it. I felt like the package thief because it was at somebody else's door. I'm like, I've got my ID on me. I'm ready to be like, look, it's really my package. I swear, nobody likes a porch thief. But I got my Para 3 and an exercise, right? So it all worked out. But the first thought in my head was that dirty postal guy. He took my Para 3. No, he just dropped it off at the wrong door. The buildings have numbers and letters on them for a reason. And sometimes I think that they just don't care. Or they're just human and they also make mistakes. Either way, it worked out. Life Survival, welcome. He says, I finally got my tall boy dark mode. All right. I sold many knives recently. And one that I never considered selling for even a hot second was my Devo Tallboy, one of my favorite knives that I currently own. Such a great EDC carry. It's the perfect mix between reasonable price for what you get and just straight up cutting ability. The S90V 61 to 62, hollow ground, It's an amazing piece. Plus, I love the camo carbon fiber. Jason Cable says Tactile gets a pass too. Do they do OEM work? Who do they do OEM work for? David V says, been messing around with lapping film on glass plates with the TS Prof. Yeah, that's a good way to do it because lapping film works really well. Something else that works really well is diamond, and hear me out here, the diamond emulsions for strops. Get like a series, right? So for example, if you don't want to do it because it can get messy. I did a lapping film series on my guided sharpener, and I was doing it for a while, but like you have to cut it specifically to fit, and then you have to order it, and then if you don't get the stuff that's adhesive, you have to like get like this brake feathering like stuff, and then you slap it on, and it gets involved. But something that I've really come to enjoy is just getting like different diamond emulsions to use on the strops, and you can obtain the same mirror polish. You just have to be careful because that's a lot of stropping and it's really easy to roll over the edge. So as long as you are careful with it, I would much rather strop to a mirror finish than lapping film. Although I will say that lapping film is actually a more reliable way to get that mirror finish. Drinkwater, welcome in. Thanks for being a channel member. He says the stock edge is convex on mine. On what? On a AR? Or are we talking about the tall boy? Gas station Knife says, yeah, that thick girl can take it. No, dude, I'll tell you what. I get that Medford and Strider have this idea in their heads that there's a lot of service members that buy their knives, and I don't look at their books. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. But I know for a fact that both Mick Strider and Greg Medford, they make knives that are thick like this, all the way to the tip, like thick with 2 C's, because they have this idea in their head that an operator overseas might need to jam this into a door and pry it open. That's cool. But I would argue for 90% of people, like, that's cool, but the edge still needs to cut stuff. If it doesn't cut stuff, it's not a knife, it's a pry bar. And I love this knife now. Like, I don't know if you could tell how much I love it. Like, if you see a Strider AR 0.75 or a Medford Praetorian and it drops shut, and you can deploy it without an extra wrist flick, that means that person loves it and they carry it. And I love this knife and I carry this knife. Is it a bit much? Maybe, but I do love it. Rainey says, thanks again. It wasn't the first and only knife from the knife community I've received. I feel like I missed something. Thanks, Rainey. I love it. I would have a really hard time selling it. I don't think I could. It's a good part of my American-made knife collection. Jim says, U.S. Postal Service will screw up a wet dream. Oh, man. All right, let's go. Bluetooth Blade says, our UPS is horrible. Yeah, you know, I've shipped out so many knives. Something you guys have to understand is, like, I review everything. I've got over 700 videos. I think I'm nearing like 730 or something. I'm in a bunch of pass rounds, which means that I'm bringing stuff in, shipping it out. You know, I get new stuff in, and I've used UPS and US Postal Service for 99% of that stuff. As much crap as we give US Postal Service, the only time I've ever had a package get lost was with UPS. That's it. And so, like, when people tell me, hey, you know what, send it with UPS instead, it's more reliable. I'm like, you know what, if you send it with the Postal Service, it might take an extra trip around the sun. You know, you might be in Washington ordering from California, and it might go to Texas first with the Postal Service. But most of the time you do actually get the knife. It's just something that I've noticed. And then, of course, I had to chase down the package from a couple weeks ago. It's okay. I needed the exercise. David V says, yeah, I've had UPS deliver my stuff to the same house number, but wrong street a few times. You know what's even worse than that? The Amazon drivers that do not give a flying the Amazon drivers in my area are, they have a special level of or lack thereof give a damn. I've seen them just like literally get out of their van and toss the package onto the sidewalk in between 4 buildings. Like, here it is, sucker. Here's your picture, your proof. You know this area, come and get it. And I don't know. Like, how bad does your day have to be like, you know what? This could be somebody's medicine. This could be somebody's insulin. Middle of the road. Why not? Welcome into Ed Durbin. Thank you for being a channel member. All right. Bluetooth blades. Ours delivers to a 5-year-old address. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. You know, I think it's easy to sit here and criticize people and be like, oh, you know what? Blah, blah, blah. They do an awful job, because we always remember the times that they fail. But like, if you delivered 1,000 packages, right, and you screwed up on 5 of them, people would remember the 5, but they would never remember that 99.9% of everything else you did was perfect. Ace Paylone says, hi all, lurking, walking the dog, lurk away. Welcome into the ponds. Good to see you, man. I don't know if I said hey already or not, but thanks for being a channel member. Ed B says, role practicing to be a porch pirate. If it's got my name on it, I will hold nothing back. I've got my identification. I can prove who I am. Welcome into Blind Woo Fury. Thanks for being a channel member as well. Let's go. Lone Star says, postal drama, this is the way. Rainey says, had to put in work for that pair of 3. I did. Burn calories. The irony is that it was the lightweight pair of 3. UPS was like, you weigh too much for this knife. Welcome into Tejas EDC. Good to see you. Welcome into Broderick. He says, I'm going scuba diving next month. What knife would you recommend that I could attach to the suit? All right. So that's a good question. First of all, you'd want to go with something that, one, has the option of a lanyard, or rather, you could add paracord to it, right? And then you'd also want something that's highly corrosion resistant. So I'm thinking something like Spyderco Salt Line, something by potentially Quiet Carry, although I've got one of their knives here. It does not have an option for a lanyard. So I'll go ahead and do a screen share here. Let's do this. Spyderco Salt. And so I would say go with a Spyderco Salt in MagnaCut. They have, the Salt series has 2 different kinds of steels, and the steel does matter because one of them is BD1N, which does not hold an edge for anything. For anything. It's got really horrible edge retention. The other one has MagnaCut. So let's do this. This is the one. So the Spyderco Salt Lightweight in that MagnaCut blade steel. So this is, for those who don't know, MagnaCut, designed by Dr. Laren Thomas, to be highly corrosion resistant, highly tough, and also have good wear resistance. All of that comes together to give you really good edge retention. And if your knife can't hold an edge, you either got to be in a position to sharpen it, or you just go without a sharp knife. So this would be my pick for that. You've got a spot for a lanyard right there. It's lightweight. You're not going to feel it on you. You could tie it to your gear, no problem. Easy to deploy. It's got the compression lock, which is a solid lock by Spyderco. And of course, it is made right here in Golden, Colorado. Jason says, oh, you were talking about OEM work. No, I don't think Tactile does any, but they definitely should. For what they make, their prices aren't outside of reasonable. Yeah, Tactile does really good work out of Texas. And The most impressive knife that I've experienced from them so far has been the Archer, but it is ridiculously expensive. And I think that if they were able to bring that price point down to like $550, you know, and that's still like people that are not knife collectors or enthusiasts, you know, they hear me say that and they're like, $550, are you out of your are you out of your gourd? If you want good quality American made knife with exquisite machine work, that costs good money. So my favorite tactile, of course, is the Archer. Of course, sold out, $599. Contoured handle scales, feathered milling. You can get these in a bunch of different variations. I didn't buy one. I borrowed one from DNK Knives. They were cool enough to lend me one. And I've heard some mixed reviews on this. I've heard some people say that they don't like that it wasn't comfortable in hand. I've got the average size hands, statistically, average sized hands for a adult male in this country. And it fit my hands great. The action was great. The lockup was great. Didn't have any wiggle or jiggle or nothing like that. And when you spend this kind of money on it, it had better be. It had better fit the majority of people's hands. Unfortunately, not left-hand friendly. Bluetooth Blade says the Quiet Carry Drift LTC from Taiwan will probably go up as well. I don't know. So here's what I know about the tariffs. The tariffs are primarily targeting Canada, Mexico, and China. So it's going to be a flat 10% on anything coming in from China. Anything. It's going to be a 25% tax on anything coming from Mexico. And that sucks because if you look at your grocery store, a lot of things that we have in our grocery stores are from Mexico. Your produce section, screwed. My produce section, screwed. You know, and plus where I live right now, a dozen eggs costs $7.50. I've got the picture evidence, and that's not at like Whole Foods either. That's at like the local Kroger. Okay, $7.50 used to be like the hoity-toity, 18 pack of organic eggs, from the locally sourced farm. Nah, Kroger brand 12 count eggs, $7.50. They're not even in Mexico. I don't know. I don't have high hopes for the tariff stuff, but it's out of my hands. I hope that it works out the way they say it will. I just doubt it. Hey, welcome into Vavelski. Thanks for being a channel member. He says, funny, I'm waiting on a 15 CPM 15V lightweight pair 3 right now. USPS tracking has been showing out for delivery all day. Regular mail arrived. No Spyderco tracking, still says out for delivery. Sometimes they just get it wrong. It'll probably show up Monday. Fingers crossed. I bet it shows up for you Monday or tomorrow. Jim has a good point. If it's anything but as long as it's not like the ground saver mail, I know they'll do priority on Sundays, but most likely I'm guessing Monday. All right. Blade Shooter G says, I'm supposed to get my Excalibur on Monday. So stoked. That's a cool one. I wish I could have gotten my hands on one. By the time I had the cash for it, though, they were gone. It's okay. The secondary market is always there. Chad K says, I ship things out that would get delivered in 3 days, but buying things, it takes 7 to 10 days. You know what? The wait kind of makes it fun, though, right? If you just got it immediately, you'd have nothing to get excited for. I don't know about you guys, but when I order something, I spend that time on shipping, looking up other people's videos on it. It gets me excited. It's like we get to experience Christmas several times a year. The hunt. Speaking of the hunt, man, crazy stuff has been going on lately. I want to say it was about a year ago, roughly. Medford Knife and Tool announced that they were discontinuing. Done. No more Praetorian models. They were going to finish whatever production they had, and they were going to close up shop. They were going to sunset the Praetorian, which is a knife that people complained about being too expensive when it cost $300, and then they skyrocketed to like $700 was like for low-end base model. Anyways, and the interesting thing about this, and I know that, Greg Medford is a divisive person on the social level. He's one of those people that does not give a damn. I know many such people that are like that, and it's just part of who they are, right? Aside from that, the Praetorian was his flagship model, and so for him to sunset that, I thought for sure, I was like, you know what, the price is either going to drop through the floor or it's going to skyrocket. It's all going to depend upon what happens with the existing stock, and it sat all year. The Praetorian sat all year. They didn't drop the prices all year, and it sat. And so sure enough, what happens when you vote with your dollars? When you vote with your dollars, companies listen, retailers listen. So check this out. If you were to go to Knife Joy, this blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And you search for Praetorian. Check this out, $617. Like, there's still some that are super pimped out that are going for $900. $630. That one's got some extra work done to it. $597. Like, this is insanity. I wanted to point this out because this is an example of what happens when you vote with your dollars. People, like, companies listen. We don't take that seriously enough. Here we go. Medford Praetorian Scout, $364. Yes, it's D2, but that's CPM D2, which is a far cry from the regular D2 that we're all used to. Like, these prices, these are crazy. Like, some of them are still regular price, like this one at, $785, and this one at $900, and, this one at $845. But I was just noticed, like, check this one out. Check it out. $572. Clearance. $572. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because, I was thinking about American knife companies. If Greg Medford had found a way to make this Praetorian and sell it at this price before it got to clearance, I'd have a feeling that his business wouldn't be in a position where he'd have to pivot. Yes, that's still a lot of money. But, when they say that it was originally $785, I believe that. I believe that because I've wanted a Praetorian for a long time. If you can't tell, I like chonky knives. I like the big boys. I like the sharpened pry bars. I like the idea that even though I'll never do it, if I was in a war zone in Iraq, I could jam this into a door, pry it open, and my blade would still be intact. I like the idea that I could do dumb stuff with my knife if I had to. And that's kind of the idea that this was built around, and they were massively successful for a long time. But the prices just kept going up. And a price is always justified as long as people spend the money on it. And when they stopped, what happened? The price went back down. So I thought it was crazy that I saw this. And I was thinking, you know what? If they had found a way to make sure that price landed like that on knives like this, I wonder if we wouldn't be seeing something different happening. Because right now, as it stands at its regular price of $785, That's competing directly with something brand new, something that has been absolutely crushing it lately. Did you guys see these? The new Machine-Wise Mojaves? Like, these knives are high-tech in comparison. Like, these are cutting machines. These have been released recently. The Machinist Proofs Mojaves. And they did another release today. They sneaked it out there. You know, doesn't matter if you sign up for notifications. They're not going to send you the notification. Got to depend on others. I posted it in the members only Discord. I did. But when you look at the fit and the finish and everything that Machine-Wise does, and you're like, you know what? Why would you spend $800 on a Medford that I know Greg Medford is insane when it comes to obsessing over tolerances and making sure everything's accurate and tight and the lockup is perfect and that the acoustics sound good. But he's not doing that for $800. This is what people expect in that price range now. The Praetorian should have like the regular Praetorian T without all the frills, bells, and whistles should have been max a $500-$600 knife max. I'm going to make some content on that idea, on that topic. Just thought I'd lead with that. All right, hold on. Welcome into Ian Coates. Good to see you. Says $600 is too much for a knife from a racist. I don't know if he's actually racist or not. I think that Greg Medford is a man who put so much of his heart and soul into building a company and building knives and designing knives, only to see nobody do anything from any of our representatives to protect his intellectual property as an American company. I'm not justifying the thing he did with the shirt or whatever. But think about it like this. If you put your heart and soul into building anything and your company gets ripped off, and not only that, but people justify it and they defend it, and you have to watch as people send you the clone that ripped you off, talking about, well, you need to warranty this. If that happened to you for like 10, 15 years, you'd probably get pretty tired of it too. You know, if not only your livelihood, but the livelihood of, you know, however many employees he has, their families, you'd probably feel a certain type of way too. That doesn't mean that I'm justifying his actions or anything that he says. I'm not a Greg Medford fan, but I am capable of looking at it objectively and saying, you know what? This is a man who's been through the ringer, who got to watch his company get ripped off, and his country didn't do anything to stop it. Nothing. And he's not the only one. Like, you guys want to, if you want to see like knife makers get pissed off about this, go on Instagram, follow Jonathan McNeese. They're all very vocal about this. Like, our country could do a much better job at defending our intellectual property, but we don't. There's absolutely nothing stopping it. And I think that that's actually rather sad. And I think that's something that people skip over all way too easily. Rainey says, I could get down with the Mini Slim. You know, I don't like all of Medford's designs. I like the drop point Praetorian, and I like the Infraction. Both of those knives look great to me. What's up to Sever7? Good to see you. Level On Up says, that's still too much. Oh, man. Ian says, nobody says, dude, this Praetorian slaps lately. I think that a lot of people are afraid. Here's the thing. I think that a lot of people are afraid to embrace those knife designs because they don't want to be seen as apologists for Greg Medford's personal opinions. And I get it. You know, especially channels. You've seen not a whole lot of content on the Medford front recently. And it's not even that Medford hasn't tried new designs. They have. It just happens to be that their best-selling model of all time every year has been the Praetorian, even at the ridiculous price points. So it's a group within the knife community that's their thing, you know. And honestly, you know, like, I like big overbuilt knives. I see it. I understand if other people don't, but I also try not to base my opinions on stuff based off of other people's opinions on stuff, because that's just not being true to myself. Gas Station Knife says, who needs a Praetorian when you got a PMP? Those aren't knives. Those are folding hatchets. Oh man, Midgards Messer, another one that does massive overbuilt knives. I sold my Thunrar. I wish I had never done that. The Thunrar was a really cool knife. 1/4 inch thick blade stock, flat grind that went all the way down to a super slicey edge. I have videos on it. Bluetooth Blade says, I'd take a Strider over a Medford any day. Talk about two divisive knife makers. Blind Woo Fury says, smash that like button. Do it, guys. Let YouTube know that we're live. Drinkwater says, Medfords just feel like they really care that it's well made. I like them. I'll say this, the people that don't like Medfords, I don't know how much they've actually looked into what goes into those knives. You know, they're really deceiving, because you look at them and you're like, oh, look at the, you know, 2 slabs of titanium. How much really goes into those tolerances? The tolerances are perfect. And the way that those are made, or at least the standard that Greg Medford has, is a level of obsession that most people will never comprehend. Ian says, we could do the best job defending our intellectual property, but China doesn't care and will never care. No, absolutely not. They look at something like intellectual property completely differently than we do. Completely differently. Like, if a company in China makes something and another company in China rips it off, they see it completely differently. They don't see it like we do. But they're also not a capitalist country. You know, when it comes to shipping stuff in, we do have control over what hits our shelves, though. We do have control over imports. So it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what China feels about it, that we allow those clones, those knockoffs, to come into our borders and just operate. Like, if an American company, like, imagine this, you have Spyderco. Spyderco makes a knife, and then Kershaw makes the exact same knife with the exact same branding, but it's not made by Spyderco. People would lose their shit. There would be lawsuits, legal ramifications. But we allow other countries to do that to our industry. And not only that, but the customer base supports it. Companies wouldn't make these products if people didn't buy them. Which is why I'm always telling people, you know, you have to vote with your dollars. You have to have a strong stance on that, because if you don't, if you keep buying these things, and I absolutely hate it when people say, well, I just can't afford it. Like, you could if you were smart about it. You could if you decided to save up. You could. It might take a minute, but that's part of the fun of being a collector. And if you do buy the clone, you'll be left feeling like, is this really what it's like? Or is this just a cheap imitation? You know, what feels better? Going through the hunt? And serious knife collectors, let me know if I'm off base here. You have to save the money. The knife has to be available, which means that you have to look for it, you have to search for it, you have to set up notifications. Then once it is, you have to be quick enough to actually buy it. Then you have to wait for the postal service and hope they don't screw it up. And then it comes in the mail, and then you get to experience it. Like this, that was the journey for me on this guy. This is the Chris Reeve on drop point. These have been really tricky to get for people to get their hands on. And it's not that Chris Reeve didn't make enough. Like, I see these go up for sale every week. They always sell out very quickly. But the joy at finally getting it and then getting to experience it after going through all of that was worth it. If this had been a clone, it doesn't matter how accurately they made the blade shape. It doesn't. And it doesn't matter if you are in a position where you could never afford it. Theft is theft. You just can't support that. But American citizens have, by buying clones. The American government has, by allowing them into our borders without ramifications. That kind of makes me sad. There needs to be a certain level of control. I don't have any Chinese phobia. I love plenty of Chinese knives. Chinese knife companies are doing an amazing job. I just don't want to see them rip off American makers that have put their heart, soul, livelihoods, and the livelihoods of others on the line to bring us those products. Whether you agree with their pricing or not, it just comes down to the integrity of it. And I think our government could do a better job of supporting American companies that do exist, because our industry has suffered. And not just our industry, industries anywhere in the United States need to be protected at all costs. Anyways, after all of that monologue, here we go. Jim Miller says, I almost lost a finger to the first Praetorian I handled. Drop shut was an understatement. Guillotine. The word guillotine comes to mind. Got to protect those digits. Ed B says, the seller of clones would probably have to be sued for it to stop. The way I see it is like, we just need to not import. We need to be able to stop those things at customs. And it might have been harder to do that, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Technology has gotten really good. You can't tell me that we don't have ways, like when something from China comes in, for example, or from another country, it has to go through customs. It has to get checked. It has to get looked at. There should be an identification system. Like, I can pull up a picture on my phone and send it to Google and say, find this, and not know what it is, and Google can find it. Why can't we do that with patents at the border? Why not? Why can't we detect those things? Saying, oh, well, you can't expect them to understand what would be a counterfeit or what's not. The technology exists. We just haven't invested in it at our borders. We need to protect American companies. Paul Mills says, I took a bath selling my fighter flipper. I only have one Medford left, the 187 and S90V. I'll say this, as of right now, I think that if you're buying a Medford, it shouldn't be because you're trying to sell it later. Buy it because you can get it at a good price now and because you want it. I would not buy one with the expectation that it's going to be worth what you paid for it later. That's not the case with knives like the Unumzon or even the Swish Bowie. Like these guys? Are you kidding? This isn't even made in the US. This Spyderco is made in Taiwan. And even the Knife Joy exclusive, which is not the original, can be sold for more used on eBay than these go for. And people still complain about the price on these. They're like, oh, $450, that's too much. Is it too much when you could buy it and sell it for more than what you paid for it immediately? Now, that is what I would consider scalping if you're just buying it with the intent to sell it later or immediately for a profit. That's scalping. And I don't necessarily stand behind that as a collector and enthusiast, but it does give me a certain level of confidence knowing that, if that demand is there, that means that demand is there and that it is worth what you're paying for it. And you're protected, because if you get it in and you're like, cool knife, not for me. Great. Turn around, sell it for what do you think your time is worth? What? The time waiting for shipping, the taxes, call it, I'll sell this for $550. You could sell this for $550. Compensates you for your time, shipping, taxes. you can wash your hands of it. There's not many things you can do that with in the knife world. I would not look at a Medford that way, personally. Hey, welcome into Sean McLaughlin. He says, hey guys, happy Saturday. Got my Excalibur today. I'm a happy camper. Hey, congratulations, man. Welcome into Cornered. He says, problem is half of it is legal built in China stuff. The ones that I have the most problem with are the ones that not only knock off the design, because a lot of time, like, it's one thing if you knock off the design, you know, like if you steal design elements that are obviously borrowed from something else, versus if you actually try to sell it with the intent, like you take the branding. Look at the microtech counterfeits out there. They've counterfeited microtech's box, the logos on the blade. They've tried to counterfeit the serial numbers. And these things can be quite convincing to someone that doesn't have the discerning eye. That is a counterfeit. A clone might be like, what is it, Vipertech, where it's really, really close to something like an ultratech. But they're not trying to steal the branding. They have their own branding. There are differences you can point to, but you look at it, you're like, that looks pretty close. You know, that firing switch didn't always have that step jimping. Like, that's what I would consider to be a clone. The counterfeits are what piss me off. People get financially hurt by that too. I speak from experience. When I started the channel, I did not have the most knowledge ever. I was just an enthusiast that wanted to share my love for the hobby with all of you. And so I went on Knife Swap. I actually have a video on this if anybody wants to watch me just in emotional pain for 10-15 minutes. So I was on the Knife Swap Reddit a couple of years ago, and I was selling, it was a Wii knife and something else. Anyways, this guy hits me up on there and he's like, yeah, you know what, like, would you do cash plus a trade? I'm like, sure. What do you got? And he sends me a picture of his collection. In that collection is a microtech stitch, or what looks like one. Now, what I know now, because when I got it in hand, I knew immediately that it wasn't a microtech stitch. The action was horrible. You know, based on what I know now, I could have spotted that then, but I didn't. I didn't do my due diligence. Like, I was like, hey, I'll take the stitch and, you know, here's some cash and I'll send my knives and you send, you know, you send the stitch and everything will be gravy. And it gets to me and it is quite obviously not a stitch. Like, you could tell that the metal was pot metal. It would not hold an edge. It would not take an edge. The action was sloppy. It wouldn't stay shut. I should have never been put in that situation. The average guy should not have to be a knife expert to protect themselves from scumbags who are ready to sell this thing because it's close enough to pass. You know, the logos were fine. Like, the defining factors that I figured out later, because I got it in hand, I'm like, what? Do they even make knockoffs of this? And I looked it up and they did. The serial number was a dead giveaway. The shape of the hardware, because the microtech hardware is domed over and there's a bit of a chamfer on all of the clones. So the serial number, the hardware, and the finish on like the backspacer and stuff. That was an expensive lesson for me to learn. You know, like, I didn't get the knife, like, the guy got banned on Knife Swap, yeah. But I didn't get the knife back, the Wii knife that I had traded away, which honestly was a cool knife. Kind of wish I still had it. Like, PayPal, I got my money back, but that was one of those things that you don't really realize how it can negatively affect someone way down the chain until you're the one that's being negatively affected. And then all of a sudden you care. So if people wonder why I'm willing to go off on a tangent about this, that's why. Jim Miller says box and marking were an attempt to look like genuine Spyderco. Ugh. The counterfeiting needs to stop. We need to stop letting counterfeit items into our borders. Welcome into Emily Morosky. Says, how much money is exchanging hands to get contraband into the country? It's just not regulated. It's not regulated. Rainey says he loves it. The button compression lock is nice. That Sage 6 and S90V looks good. Oh, I can't wait. Welcome into Anthony Kitchen. Good to see you, man. Emily says, my man's been waiting on a Sage 6. He didn't know it was going to be a button lock, so it was a pleasant surprise. Are they sold out? Did they launch? Did the Spyderco Sage 6 launch? If people are wondering what we're talking about, the Spyderco Sage 6 is not just a regular button lock. It's the button-operated compression lock, just like the Spyderco Smock. And we've been begging Spyderco for the better part of forever to come out with another button-operated compression lock, and they just didn't do it. Spyderco Sage 6. Okay, they're not, I don't think they're here yet. At least Blade HQ says that you can pre-order it. Why is this one S30V? I thought they were supposed to be S90V. Please tell me that's a typo. Nope, it's on the blade. S90V. Okay, so it looks like they're going to be releasing with a couple different versions. The S90V version is going to be the more expensive one. Good to know. Coming soon. You can why is it that you can pre-order the S30V version but not this one? Oh well. But yes, I'm also excited for this one. And you know, another one is the, and I know Spyderco haters are gonna hate, they hate this one. It's the Edgerati. Oh man, I'm actually kind of looking forward to this one because it's a new Spyderco design, a new USA made Spyderco design. You know, the Bodacious, not really a new design. They just took a shaman and they deleted the finger choil. Not a new design. The Edgerati, new design, or at least new to us. It is S30V. You guys know that I'm not, if you don't know, you should know, I'm not the biggest fan of S30V over $150. So that's kind of a hard thing to swallow, but I will say at least it's on a new design. And at least they're not using G10 like they're using aluminum. Some people are going to like that. Some people won't. The skeletonized look is cool. You can tell that this is going to be really lightweight. They still have it listed at 3.3 ounces. Damn. Interesting. Yep. S90V is the carbon fiber one. Bluetooth Blade says, I got burned by a fake 8015 on Amazon. Got my money back though. Yeah, I would say unless you're buying like a Chinese brand intentionally, like Civivi or Kaiser or Vosteed, you know, nobody's knocking off Vosteeds. There's no money in it because they're more reasonably priced. Companies are knocking off Spyderco, Medford, Strider, Chris Reeve, Microtech. Those are the ones that get knocked off. I wouldn't trust Amazon. And I learned this. From the community last year in a live stream. Somebody brought this to my attention. So here's the weird thing. There are authorized dealers for Spyderco that sell on Amazon. But the problem is that when these authorized dealers send their inventory, which is legitimate, Spyderco, for example, let's say that you're an authorized dealer for Spyderco and you do a fulfillment by Amazon. A lot of companies do this. They send it to Amazon. Amazon looks at it and is like, great, got it in stock. Thank you. When it sells from your store, we'll give you the profit, right? Well, when they do that, they take that as well as all of the other stock from other companies that are doing fulfilled by Amazon, and they just mix and mash it all together. And that includes some counterfeits, which look very convincing from the packaging. They look very convincing on the blade. And then, you know, Joe Smith out and wherever buys it, it comes in and he's like, this is not authentic. even if you buy it from an authorized dealer on Amazon, you're not safe, because if it's a good counterfeit, or I shouldn't say good, if it's a convincing counterfeit, it gets mixed in with all the other inventory. And so it's kind of like playing Russian roulette. I would not buy any American made knife. I would not buy any cold steel knife that's either from Amazon that's not shipped directly by the seller. If you look at it, it's like Amazon Prime, get it tomorrow. Don't do it. Your Vosteds, your Kaisers, your Wee knives, your civivis, nobody's knocking those off and sending it to Amazon. Those are totally fine to buy on Amazon, but don't buy any American made knives on Amazon. Don't buy any any cold steel knives on Amazon. It's not worth the risk, even if they are an authorized dealer. Revolving Blade says got burned by Benchmade's fake website. Ooh, that's rough, man. Gas Station Knife says, I'm surprised I don't like skeletonized scale designs. Dusterati, Linterati. If you work in an area where you have a lot of metal shavings or something, sure. You know, if you don't want the pocket lint to show. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the skeletonized design either, but I know scale makers are going to make non-skeletonized scales for this knife, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. Matt D, welcome in. Thanks for being a channel member. He says, I got a 940-1 on Amazon as a gift for my brother. It was a total knockoff, and they didn't want to refund me, claiming I did it. It was such a hassle. Man, yeah, it's not worth it. Don't buy knives that could be cloned on Amazon. It's that simple. Or counterfeited. You know, like there's plenty of knives you can buy on Amazon that you know are not going to be counterfeit. Kaiser, Vosti, Wee, all the Chinese brands. They're not going to be getting the counterfeits on Amazon. Sean McLaughlin says the mini Arius is available on Blade HQ. Hopefully it's still there in a couple weeks because it's on the top of my bucket list. Yeah, I saw that. Apparently you can just buy these now. Look at that. Look at that. You know, if you guys are planning on buying one of these, I've got an affiliate link. You can buy one, and it supports the channel. So if you want to support the channel, go and buy a mini Arius. Just, you know, use my Blade HQ link. I'd appreciate that. No, they must have gotten a massive stock, because I know that when these released, plenty of people did buy them. But they're still there. Here's the thing, though. These are not necessarily the best deals. Like $865 is a lot. Like, let's see, Northwest Knives. Do they still have them? Okay, they still have one. So check this out. This is a flipper delete, Northwest Knives, standard pattern handle, right? Mini Arius, $790. If you go, like, yes, this is the quarter pattern. I know that the pattern difference should not be worth an extra $75-$80. I'm sorry, it really shouldn't. But they were selling those like here's a plain one, okay? Plain, guys, plain. $865. Blade HQ, stop it. Like, that is. I don't understand. Why is the plain Jane with no milling, no flipper delete, $865? Like, if you're, in all honesty, if you're on this live stream and you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to buy a mini Arius, go ahead and buy one from Northwest Knives. This is a legitimate seller. It is a legitimate company. They have a shop in Idaho. Pretty sure they're in Boise, actually. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. 208 area code on their phone number. I actually looked them up when I found that listing. I was like, wait, because I hadn't heard of them. I looked them up. I looked up their address. They're a legitimate company, and this is the legitimate website. $790. That's a better deal. It's better. It's a better deal. So if you're looking at one, even though I don't have a link for Northwest Knives, buy that one first before going to Blade HQ. Just throwing that out there. Blind Woo says, I wonder if there's something to say for a third-party authentication process like they do with sneakers. All I know is that we have the technology to identify items coming in, being imported in, and it's not hard, guys. Like, here's the thing. If it's an American-made item, there should be protections in place. We're not importing American-made items. We should be able to use our technology to identify, hey, why is this company from China exporting to us something that should be made here? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, it's not that hard. Like, this is an American-made item. It's in our database. Like, we could build a database. Anything that's made in America needs to be in a database. Like, we have the best tech companies in the world. We have freaking Google. We've got AI up the yin yang. Like, we could do this. We don't, but we could. Stop it at the border. We can't penalize XYZ company in China, but we can send their shit back. That's all I'm saying. Is that we have the capabilities to identify these counterfeit items that are coming into our borders. And if we had a database of anything and everything that's made in the United States on a commercial level, we could stop it. But our government hasn't done that. They put more energy and time and money and manpower into shutting down TikTok, which people actually wanted. B. Devious says better deal on the mini areas, plus it's a non-flipper. There's a big debate between people on the areas conversation. Do you go with the non-flipper or you go with the flipper? Revolving Blade says, has anyone handled any Magpul knives? Have lots of their pew-pew stuff, wondering how their quality is. Well, they're making big waves right now with their metal injection molded knives, which apparently is supposed to give you like CPM S35 VN, but performing a lot better than traditionally, milled and manufactured S35 VN. Paul Mills says, I never carry my mini Arius. I may trade it for something else. May I interest you in anything that I have on my desk? Hit me up, Paul. David V says they don't even send the stuff back to China; they destroy it. We need to protect our borders, especially from counterfeit. Like, I'd rather see us do that than the tariffs. I personally, I don't agree with the tariffs because I don't see the American people benefiting from that. And also, a lot of American companies are going to be hurt by that. Instead of spending our time and money on that, why don't we stop counterfeits at the border? Gas Station Knife says, tip, if you skip eggs for 107 weeks, you will have enough for an Arius Praetorian. It's crazy, man. Matt D says, I feel like they raised prices on the Arius. Yeah, they've gone up steadily. I was looking at this the other day. The original Gen 1 Arius, the full-size Gen 1, I want to say was going for like $500. So I'm going to do this. We're going to do newest, and we're going to do... Yeah, check it out, guys. Here it is. The original Gen 1 Arius. Patterned handle scales. Look at that. Of course, now they call this their standard pattern. And they've got a better grind now. Milled pattern, heavy duty titanium frame lock, $510. crazy. Crazy. Yeah, they've gone up in price. What about Oz Machine Co? What, we've never sold an Arius on Blade HQ, or excuse me, a Roosevelt on Blade HQ? Apparently not. All right. Blade Shooter G says, I don't think I could carry a Koenig. I could. I like to carry multiple knives. You know, for example, something I've been carrying a lot lately has been this guy. This is my favorite mundane cutting task tool, period. And I like to carry it with other knives like this one. You know, the $500 Chris Reeve Unums on. So I'll carry these two, and then I'm not spending time cleaning tape off of an Unums on. But if I run into a scenario where, you know, maybe I need more than the mundane cutting tool, then I've got the Zon. Does that mean that this gets used less? Sure, but it also means that I'm not spending my time cleaning tape off of this edge. But if I do need a bigger knife, you know, if I need more cutting edge, more cutting power, I've got it. But I'm not afraid to carry this. You know, like, you can't see it very well on camera, like snail trails already, but I don't care. I think the best way you can customize a Chris Reeve knife is by putting your own wear and tear patina on it. Gas Station Knife says, yo, can someone lend me a few drops of gunny? wait. Did you need some of this? Like the gunny juice, graphene lubricant, or did you need like, oh shoot, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Or did you need like the stropping compound? Stuff lasts forever. Zaver7 says, is the Peachy really 90 though? Is it worth that? Yeah. I absolutely love this design. So I haven't done a standalone video on the Peachy G9, but I'm going to tell you right now why it's worth it. First of all, is it's a titanium construction. Second of all, is it has you could classify this as a gravity utility knife. It's got 3 settings, right? So this is the regular open setting. So open, close, you shift the scales, pops in, pops out, right? If you want to take it apart, it's super easy if you want to change the blade. Pop it into this middle setting, and the sled comes out. This is a magnetic sled, so it fits back in here magnetically. You can swap it over to the other side, so you're not going to get any blade rub when you switch out the blade. You're not going to get any blade rub. A lot of people don't know this, but on bad utility knife designs, what happens is that part of the edge comes into contact with, you know, the frame, especially on gravity knives. But so it's really easy to take apart and put back together. This is made in Canada. This is not made in China. If you want to lock it closed, you can by switching it over here. So now it's locked closed. You can also open it and leave it locked open, you know, so this is great. Titanium construction, really, really solid milling on here. The tolerances are perfect, and it's just a lot of fun to carry. So if you don't need titanium, if you don't need, you know, made in the North American continent, then sure, you know, you can buy something else. Milwaukee fastbacks are wildly popular and they're great utility knives, but this is more of a nice carry companion for the mundane. You know, I wouldn't take this with me on a job site, for example. If I worked in construction, I wouldn't take this on a job site. I would get myself a Milwaukee fastback or something that I really didn't care about, that was cheap and easy to replace, because those tools go through hell. That's what you carry when you just have to carry something and you need to be able to replace it if it breaks. This is the perfect companion for mundane cutting tasks for an EDC enthusiast. And it's not cheap because it's made in Canada and it's made out of titanium. And there's magnets involved. Love the Peachy G9. B Devious says, has Oz Machine Company ever dropped on any site besides Oz directly? Probably not. Probably not. Blade Shooter G says, you need to look at the Rivery manufacturing utility knife. That's the one that I want. I saw a cool one that was reviewed by my buddy Duty's Daggers. I haven't talked to Dude in a long time, but what was it? It was like the Zero. It was like, what was it called? It was like Zero utility knife, gravity. I'm pretty sure it was the Zero. Was it the Zero? All right. I'm going to find it on his YouTube. I forget what it's called. We'll find it. All right, dude. Because I know he reviewed this and I watched it and then I just forgot what it was called. I'm going to be very... Here it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is the Zero. Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to play the video because I don't want the content to get potentially... Where do you find it? Is that the one that you were talking about? The Rivery? Imagine that. That is the right one. That... Say, okay. Yes, I do think that this would be a good comparison. Now it's aluminum with lanyard hole on this one. They've got to make one in titanium though. I'm glad that we came together on this and got, we connected. Please tell me that they have a titanium version. Please. Titanium. Yeah, $95. So it's no cheaper if you get the titanium version than the Peachy G9. Where are these made? That's what I want to know. But that's cool. I mean, not surprised at all. Sold out. Yeah, I want to get my hands on one. I like the fact that they have them in aluminum. I don't like the fact that the aluminum ones are only, what? They're only $20 cheaper? I don't know. Aluminum with lanyard hole. Grenade. You can get different milling though. Like, I get it. There's a lot of milling involved to make this. Like, I get it. So it's probably less that these are not too expensive. It's probably more of that the titanium version was just a really good deal. Gas Station Knife says, the Rivery is a fidget toy that happens to have a blade. I play with mine all the time. Sean McLaughlin says, Roll, I wanted to get your opinion on the Poikilo Marlin or Poikilo in general. They have had several releases lately and everyone seems to love their Orca. I haven't handled one. So my opinion is that they're a really interesting looking company that I want to get my hands on at some point this year because they're relevant. It's relevant to the community and I want to know why. Like, I feel like they came out of nowhere. Poikilo knife. Like, this is the one that comes to my mind. It's a $1,300, pretty much it's like a custom knife. The designer's Mundus Knives. They revealed this at a blade show last year. Look at that. That is absolutely bananas. Like, this is a knife that I can never see myself carrying, but I do think is rather interesting. Poikilo. The Marlin. This is one that I actually do like the look of. So for me, I like the look of the Marlin. I'm a big fan of harpoon style blades, buoy style blades. The blade itself looks like kind of a mixture between a harpoon buoy. It's kind of what I'm seeing there. or you could call it a harpoon clip or a harpoon drop or just a harpoon blade, modified harpoon. I don't know. Let's see. What do they call it? Yeah, harpoon. Okay. Looks like they've got some contoured titanium scales, single-sided captive pivot. Nice. Lots of subtle milling on those scales. I like that. Lots of surfaces. Means it's going to be easy to grip. I'm not sure how easy that would be to say reverse flick for those of you who care about that. Whether on the thumb stud or on that fuller. I think that the way to go on this is probably going to be thumb flicking off of the show side thumb stud. So the proximity of the fuller to the scale makes me wonder if that is more of an aesthetic fuller, which, you know, fullers, blood grooves, whatever you want to call them, initially were aesthetic or aesthetic weight relief. Knife enthusiasts that love to be, you know, like me, apprehensible and just fidget with their knives all day because they get obsessive compulsive. We discovered that, hey, you know what, a fuller could be used as a deployment option as well. So the problem that I have is that I'm left wondering if that is just an aesthetic fuller or if you can actually use that to deploy the knife with. I want to say that it's possible, but I also want to say that it's possible that that's just an aesthetic thing. I do think that it looks good. Bowler M398, love seeing that. We don't see a whole lot of M398 out there. How's their heat treat? No clue. Absolutely no idea how their heat treat is on that. Time will tell. Somebody will test one and then we'll know. But, you know, if we assume that it's heat treated correctly, right? We assume that it's heat treated correctly. $380. Pearlescent stonewash tie. It's crazy. It's not like a semi-polished titanium. So 3.7 inch blade, over 8 inches, full size knife. I could see 380. I don't know who the OEM is, but I'm assuming that it's probably someone that is well known for doing good work. So I can see the price tag. What was the other one? What was it called? The Orca. Kilo Orca. I don't know about this one. Like, this one is kind of a two-tone titanium, obviously contoured. I bet it's stupidly comfortable. I just don't know. Like, this one, obviously a usable fuller. $450. That's a lot. I don't know about this one. I'm sure people love this knife, and if you bought it and you love it, perfect. I don't think I'd take the $450 plunge on this, though. I don't like that price at all. Maybe I just have to handle one to figure it out. Laid Off Pete says, chat text hiding a lot of the image. Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, this is the Orca. I always forget I need to clear the messages. So this is the Orca. I do feel like for me, I would have to handle it to see what the big deal is, because to me, this, I don't necessarily see it. Again, M398, cool. Like, I could see this at the same price tag as the Marlin. 380, 450 is excessive. I want to know why this is 450. Is this an integral? If it's an integral, I guess I can understand. I don't see. Is this an integral? I mean, if it's an integral, they've done a terrible job of listing that. The only way that I could see any kind of justification for this price point on this knife at $450 is if it's an integral. I might have to look up a video on it. Bluetooth Blade says, I have an XM18 3.5-inch spear point hollow grind by Satu Dave. Very nice. Sever7 says, I have the Alchem, the 1351. I've also handled a few different models. I love Poi Kilo. They also have tiers. Almost every one model has a production, mid-tech, and custom version. That's really cool. That is really cool. Welcome into Max Waller. He says, hey, Roll, interested in an Umnumzon, but they are so hard to find. Just thinking of getting an Imamba instead since they are readily available. What do you think? Do I wait? I think that you should get both. I really do. And the reason why is that if you're looking for this, these will only become more readily available. The Imamba is going to be very Chris Reeve-ish because Arno Bernard, the designer of the Imamba, studied under Chris Reeve. He was basically like Chris Reeve's apprentice. So Chris Reeve taught Arno Bernard everything he knows, and that's why when you look at one, they look very similar, but they're going to be kind of more modern-esque, right? The people who I know who have an Arno Bernard knife, specifically the Imamba, absolutely love them to pieces, and they're really well made. I'm not shocked. I'm really not shocked. Chris Reeve is one of my most favorite knife makers of all time, and so I've looked into this stuff. I want an Imamba. I think that you should get both. It's just a matter of what order do you get them in. If you're looking to scratch an immediate itch, if you've got a bundle of cash and it's burning a hole in your pocket right now, buy the Imamba. It will definitely scratch an itch for you immediately. It'll be a well-made knife. It'll be something that you can be very proud of. It'll be a collector's piece. It'll be something that you can carry and feel good about. I would say don't stop the hunt for the Umnumzon. What you need to do is set up notifications. DLT, I would say, what was it? Knife art, not knife fart, knife art. That's where I got mine. Here, I'll pull it up. Knife art. So this is knifeart.com. This is a legitimate website. I'm going to go ahead and clear the message so you can see this. They do things a little bit differently. Now, I don't know why they have these two dudes on the front. I think they're the owners. Yeah, welcome from the owners. When I first saw this website, I thought it wasn't legitimate because of that picture right there, which is a dumb reason, but for some reason it just threw me off. Anyways, so when I was able to get my Umnumzon from Knife Art because they were very, very specific on how they sold it. So they released it on Knife Art, and they would do like batches of 10 at a time, and every 30 to 45 minutes they would go from out of stock to in stock, and then they would actually hold people to the one per household. So one of the reasons why these are hard to get is because they get bought up by scalpers a lot, especially scalpers using botted payment systems that will auto buy. So what happens is everyone gets the same notification, right? And then the scalper software is like, perfect, purchase, because it can do it much faster than a human can. That's why you see these things sell out in 30 seconds. So they did a kind of like a stepped release where, like, let's say they had 50 of these, right? And they did 5 releases over the span of 5 hours of like 10 a piece. And so we were seeing them go out of stock. And then like 30, 45 minutes later, boom, another small amount. And I was able to get one on this website. So my recommendation is if you want an Umnumzon, you can get one. Enjoy the hunt. That is half the fun. Knife Art will sell them. I've seen them available on DLT, saw them available on eKnives, seen them available in probably 6 different locations in just the last week alone. They didn't stay in stock, but that's part of the fun. But if you get an Imamba in the meantime, I guarantee you won't be disappointed either. Gas Station Knife says the Orca Fuller is super smooth. It's not intended for a flick, but you can do it if you concentrate. I need to check them out. Gas Station Knife says it's $450 because it looks like a killer whale. It's just big bone. It's thick with 2 C's. THIQUE. Thick. Paul Mills says, I don't think you can adjust the detent on an Nkosi. I don't own an Nkosi, so I don't know. Jim Miller says, bots suck pond scum. Yeah, they do. Hey, shout out to Knife Plebe, who's been a channel member for 9 months. He says, I can't believe a top liner lock didn't make your best of 2024. You know, I thought about that. And it was really, really close. I didn't really do an honorable mentions. The PSYOP should have been on there. It should have been an honorable mention. It was very close. I do love the top liner locks. I do love the PSYOP. I probably could have thrown it on the list, and it probably could have replaced something. But I don't know. I picked my top 5 several times over the span of the week leading up to my doing of the video. And I looked at different configurations of that list, and the one that made it on the video was the list that I settled on. But I do love a good Vosti top liner lock. Gas Station Knife says, if you want to have more than one residence, if you can afford 2 residents, then surely you can have 2, right? Max Waller says, thank you, sir. I will add those websites to my notification list and keep the hunt going. I still may pick up the Amam in a few weeks once the itch for the immediate new knife comes back. Here's the thing. I guarantee, here's what you're going to do. You're going to set up all the notifications for the Umnums on, right? And then, right as you give up, you're like, you know what? I'll just buy the Imamba instead. You're going to buy it, and then you're going to see it stay in stock at one of those websites. I guarantee it. That's how it always works. You just have to commit to the hunt. If you're going to do it, you got to commit to the hunt. You got to embrace the suck, right? Knife Bleep says, you called Vosti as the company of 2024, and you were right, but you didn't represent. I could have. I've done plenty of Vosti videos, though, and I think my opinion on them is very well known. I really love what they've done with their top liner lock, and I really appreciate the fact that they did a great job of coming out with models that were affordable in it, not just staying with the premium range. I think that if we want to thank anybody for Spyderco coming out with another button-operated compression lock, you know who we got to thank? Vosti. You know that Kevin Smock probably called up Eric Glesser and was like, did you know there's this company over there, they're using a button-operated compression lock? Mine? I guarantee you Kevin Smock has had conversations with Eric Glesser about Vosti. I would be very shocked if they didn't. Paul Mills says, I mean, it's a frame lock. Only difference is that it rides on the detent ball. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are getting to around that time. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all of you EDC Mac daddies who joined me here on Saturday's live stream. Hour and a half in, it is time. I got to head out and work on the next episode. But I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. In case you didn't know, Wednesday live streams are now back. They're back. I was gone on Wednesdays for like 3 weeks starting in the year off. It was a mistake. They're back. Those will happen 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time as well. So the next live stream will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. Mountain, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, or 7 p.m. Pacific. I hope you can make it. I understand if you can't. So for some of you guys, I will see you soon. And for everybody else, we'll see you later.